Hmm. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in today. Thank you so much for joining me today for my next installment of Facebook and YouTube Live. I'll be splicing this up and peppering it into Instagram as well and all the other social media platforms. My name is Christopher Luard, or Chris, whatever you prefer. And I'll just say a little bit about myself. So I've been doing these Facebook Live sessions now for about a month, and I'm doing them leading up to an online meditation immersive program that I'm offering, a 3 month online program entitled The Healing Power of Kindness. I won't talk too much about the program here today, but if you want to find out more about the healing power of kindness, it opens in 2 weeks from now, April 12th, and it runs to July 5th. And yeah, all of the details and such are on my website, suchsweetthunder.org. So we'll be exploring a lot of the practices that I've done on the previous Facebook sessions over the past month. Pardon me. We'll be exploring those practices. We'll be exploring the practice that I'm about to offer here today as well. So let me talk a little bit about the structure of the course because I think that that background is helpful for the practice that I'm about to introduce. So it's a 12-week program, and in the program, we will spend the first 2 weeks offering kindness to aspects of ourselves that we like. And that usually sort of warms up the process, warms us up to, yeah, the other 10 weeks ahead of offering kindness in other ways. So the second 2 weeks, we offer kindness to aspects of ourselves that we don't know, that we're neutral towards, that we tend to overlook or ignore. This is very helpful. It not only sort of broadens our awareness up to engage with more of ourself than we are used to, right? That's such a beautiful endeavor in and of itself, right? We have access to parts of ourselves now that we didn't in the past. And then we offer kindness to parts of ourselves that we don't like, that we tend to suppress or push away, right? And probably most of you know that the parts of us that we tend to suppress, they don't stay suppressed, right? They tend to dictate our behaviors in the world in unconscious ways. Right. And then, so that's 6 weeks of kindness to ourself, right? And then we go into offering self compassion to ourselves. And that's very similar. Right? When you think about offering kindness to an aspect of ourselves that we like, that often brings up compassion for ourselves, right? For that part. Right. Then we go into offering self compassion to all of ourselves, right? And then in the last 4 weeks of the course, we're offering kindness to others. And so I got the question a couple of weeks ago, why are we spending so much time offering kindness to ourselves? Isn't that self indulgent, right? How is that helping the world? So when, we feel upset about others, or if we're moving into, let's say somebody says something on the news that triggers us, right? We get triggered in any situation simply because we're having an experience that we can't quite meet completely, right? So that our nervous system either goes into fight or flight at that point, right? And so by developing practices that help us meet the present moment in its entirety, in its wholeness, right? We're moving from reactivity to response. That's the idea. So, a big part of that process is developing a way to engage in the present moment in a welcoming way and in an accepting way. And I came up with those two qualities. So let me talk a little bit about that, and then we'll actually jump into the practice. So, in the Buddhist tradition, in which I'm deeply trained in, There are what's called the Brahma Viharas, the four immeasurables, the four qualities of the heart. They're known by various different titles. And those are the qualities of kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Today's meditation, we're really focusing on kindness and compassion. So for me, the hallmark quality of kindness is welcoming, right? When an old friend shows up at our door, right, we welcome them, right? So for me, that's really one of the defining characteristics of kindness. It has this welcoming spirit, a welcoming heart. Compassion, a little bit different, right? Because well, what happens, right, when we welcome in something painful, right? It becomes softer. Not only the pain aspect of that, but actually the process of accepting, right? It's a little cushier, let's say, a little, I don't want to say warmer because welcoming is quite warm to me, but it has a softer, so welcoming might sound like, hey, and compassion or accepting might sound like, oh, yeah, right? It's a little bit of a different flavor. But it's quite important to notice because, you know, very often when we go into welcoming an experience, let's say, if we're practicing, that practice, and if it's something really challenging, right? If we're just, moving into welcoming, you know, all of our experience, that can be pretty intense sometimes, especially if we're having some difficulty or some sadness or we're grieving something, right? So to notice that, the resistance to welcoming, right, and that very nicely leads into a type of accepting, right? Well, if I can't welcome this, at least I can accept that it's here, right? Then we can work with it. As long as we're in a state of non-acceptance, there's no working, right? We're just going to keep resisting it, keep pushing it down, right? And again, that becomes our shadow that starts to leak out in unhealthy and unproductive ways. So that's where I'm at today with today's practice. I do want to say to everyone, particularly my American friends, but really everyone in the world, happy No King's Day. Yay. And so I hope you got out and protested, or if you didn't, maybe protested in your own way. Or at least maybe put some energy out into the world that we as a species, as a human species, deserve to have choice over the path in our life. And as far as we know as human beings, a democracy is the most conducive form of government that allows people to have free will over the path in life. There's a lot of, it's not perfect, and by any means, American democracy was, fell very short of where its intentions were. But I think we can hold the democracy as aspirational, right? That we maybe now, after things turn around, we're going to get there a lot faster. Anyway, I don't want to get too into politics here, but happy No King's Day, however you celebrated, however you participated. I hope it was good for you. Okay. So this practice it'll be a guided meditation. And it's a body scanning type of practice. So we systematically go through the body and offering a welcoming, right? And accepting. So we'll sort of play with both of those qualities as we go through. Now, you might have some resistance come up as we're going through, right? Very normal. All and any resistances that appear, whether it's in meditation or in a conversation or any activity in our life, if we start to feel resistance or contraction in the body, that shows up as a way of helping us feel safer. So if you notice resistance coming up in the practice, we don't need to push that away. In fact, it's quite unhealthy to do that, right? So the best thing to do, at least in my experience, is to offer the resistance itself that welcoming, right? Or accepting, right? Oh, thank you for being here. We could say to the resistance, right? I don't need you to help me feel safe right now, but it's really nice that you're here. Something like that, right? So we're sort of welcoming, accepting in that spirit. Okay, I've spoken far too much, so I'm gonna go ahead. I need a sip of. So this is. I got asked a question about my beverage, and this is a coconut milk and pineapple juice. Such a great way to start the morning. Okay, lovely, fresh coconut milk and fresh pineapple juice. I love living in Thailand. Okay, so I will ring the bell. So the invitation here is just to arrive into this present moment. And there are many ways of arriving and connecting to the present moment. And for this practice, let's start with the experience of sound. So we're invited here to simply become listeners of the present moment. You might notice quiet sounds or loud sounds, the sound of my voice. There might be pleasant sounds or unpleasant sounds or neutral sounds. But regardless of how we interpret the sounds, perhaps recognizing how sounds are always present moment experiences. What might it feel like here to then welcome, welcome the sounds of the present moment? And if your environment is particularly quiet, you might practice welcoming the silence that's there. And maybe there's a neighbor playing some loud music, or there's some construction happening nearby, or if you're like me, you might have tinnitus. I have tinnitus. So we can practice accepting the soundscape of this experience. How does that change the experience of sound? Does it change the experience? Welcoming, welcoming the soundtrack as if some wisdom had magically orchestrated the perfect soundtrack to this experience. Welcoming, welcoming, accepting the sounds here. Oh, yes, you can stay. And the mind might be wandering into stories here about sounds or about something else. That's very normal. And whenever you notice you get distracted by thoughts, you could simply say to yourself, thinking, thinking, letting the distraction go and kindly returning back to listening, just listening. So, not making the thoughts into a problem or something to get rid of, but just noticing and returning back. And then, perhaps in the next breath or two, the invitation is to gently and kindly bring awareness to the feet. There might be a temperature of the feet, cool or warm, or some tension there, or maybe some tingling. Maybe the feet feel kind of dense or weighty somehow. Maybe there's numbness there. What's it like to welcome the sensations of the feet? There may be a kind of warmth or a kind of gentle holding almost. Holding the sensations of the feet the way we might hold a puppy. Then, perhaps in the next breath or two, gently, kindly bringing this exploration to the legs, from the ankles to the knees to the hips, quadriceps, and thighs. We might notice the sensations of clothing against the legs, smoothness, softness, coarseness, roughness. Maybe some tension or tightness in the muscles. Maybe the legs feel quite numb, and that's fine, that's very normal. What might it feel like then to simply offer acceptance to the sensations throughout the legs? We might even offer words of acceptance to the sensations there, like, oh, oh, yeah, you can stay. You belong here. Bringing this exploration then to the pelvis area, noticing the contact of the body against the cushion or chair. Noticing too any tension or pressure throughout the pelvis area, the pelvic floor. What might it be like to offer that heart of acceptance? Oh, yes, you belong here. Or welcoming the sensations throughout the pelvis area. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And maybe there's resistance coming up here. That's very normal. I might feel like a kind of tightening in the body or pushing away, or maybe some doubt happening in the mind. And then we could turn toward the resistance itself and saying to any resistance that's there, thank you for being here. It's really wonderful how you show up in this way to help me feel safe. I don't really need you so that I feel safe any longer, but it's wonderful that you're here. And then perhaps in the next breath or two, gently, kindly, bringing awareness to the lower torso, the belly, the lower back. Noticing how the belly, the lower back move with each breath, the expanding, the contracting. There may be some tension or tightness in the belly that's very common. There's some pulsating, perhaps. Maybe we just notice the sensations of clothing moving across the belly with the breathing process. What's it like to welcome the sensations there throughout the belly, throughout the lower back? Meeting the sensations throughout the lower torso the way we might meet a good friend that we haven't seen in a long time. With warmth, with care. Bringing this exploration then to the upper torso, the upper back, the chest area. And here too, we might notice the expanding and contracting movement with each breath. Sensations of clothing moving to adjust with the rising and falling of the body. Maybe there's some tension, tightness in the shoulders, the upper back. Very common. There also may be some contraction around the heart area. What's it like to accept the upper torso? Oh, oh. Really offering that warm softness to any tension throughout the upper torso. It's okay. It's okay to be tense. It's understandable. So many people feel tense right now. Just offering that warmth of compassion. So we're not trying to change anything, but simply changing how, or really shifting how we relate to our experiences that are always already there. Meeting our body with kindness and compassion. Bringing this frame of non judgment to the arms, from the shoulders to the elbows to the wrists. We might notice the temperature of the air against the skin of the arms, or the sensations of clothing against the arms. What's it like to welcome the sensations throughout the arms? The way we might welcome a good friend that we haven't seen in a long time. Welcoming each sensation there. The hands as well. Warmth, coolness, tingling, pulsating. What might it be like to hold the sensations in the hands? The way we might hold a flower or a kitten. Bringing this exploration of non judgment then to the neck and throat. What's it feel like to bring that heart of acceptance to any sensations which may be there in the throat, in the neck? Oh, yeah. Tightness, tension, dryness, tingling, coolness. Then, perhaps in the next breath or two, gently, kindly bringing the same frame of non judgment to our own face. Letting go of any idea or image of what we look like, and simply meeting the sensations there with kindness, with warmth, with friendliness. You might even say to the sensations throughout the face, welcome. Thank you for being here. So nice that you could be here today. And just as we're able to bring this accepting and welcoming heart to various areas of the body, in just that same way, we're now invited to bring this accepting, welcoming heart to the entire body, all at the same time. Noticing the body from the bottom of the feet to the top of the head, the tips of the fingers to the center of the heart. Welcoming the sensations of the body, much in the same way we might welcome in a very good friend. Accepting the sensations throughout the body. Yes, we could say to the body, you belong here. You can stay. getting this feel for spreading this quality of warmth and openness. What does it feel like to welcome the body? Welcoming to any resistance which might show up in that endeavor. Accepting the sensations of the body. Maybe images have arisen. That's very normal. We can start to let those go if that's there. Noticing the sounds that might be in your environment here. If your eyes were closed during the practice, you might just gently begin to open them and maybe inviting some movement back into the body. And yeah, so I like to do an orienting after a meditation sometimes, so I'll do that now. And that simply looks like this. It's the process of swiveling over one hip, just sort of visually scanning your room or your environment. And as we go from the back of the room towards the front, scanning visually the room, noticing any objects or images that you find either neutral or pleasant. Neutral or pleasant. Yeah, so that can be that in itself is another practice. And if your nervous system leans into fight, flight, or freeze on the regular, doing orienting practice can be super helpful as a way of sort of bringing that down a bit. Yeah. So, in this process that we just explored, I just want to speak a little bit about that and then we'll close. Um, so, when we, have encounters with others, right? Any encounter, it's going to land in our body in a particular way, right? And when we encounter people that we don't know very well, right? We sort of move into interpreting their motives, their intentions, and so forth like that. Sometimes, often, we can do that, right? That's not generally that helpful, right? Because then we're not in the present moment with that person. We're sort of reaching into the past and projecting our past onto them. But in any case, we encounter someone, that encounter shows up as as a pattern of sensations in the body, a physical experience. Now, if we like that person, probably that pattern of sensations is going to feel nice, pleasant, right? Easy to welcome, easy to accept. If we encounter someone that we have some tension towards, or maybe we've had words with or something like that, right? That encounter is going to land as a pattern of sensations in the body that are going to feel much more challenging to work with, right? But that's why it's a practice, right? And so again, and as I mentioned, I think as I was guiding that practice, it isn't that, we'll meet the challenging person, feel that pattern of sensation, and then not feel, you know, um, tense when we're around that person, right? We're still going to feel dislike, but we're going to be okay with that, right? We're not supposed to like all 8 billion other people in the world, and all 8 billion other people probably don't like me, and that's fine, right? That's the idea, is we build a window of tolerance where we can hold that the tension in the body, the unpleasantness in the body that arises when we encounter someone that challenges us, we can hold that with spaciousness, right? So indeed, that information will inform my movement forward, right? I don't, if this person challenges me in particular ways that feel tense in my body, I'm probably not going to want to hang out with that person, right? But if I encounter that person, it's not going to trigger me, right? It's not going to set me off for the rest of the day. It's not going to, in fact, that person's presence won't influence how I show up in the world, right? So then I can still be very kind to that person, holding space for the sensations, the challenging sensations, right? My window of tolerance has gotten wide enough to accommodate both. So that can be super beneficial. Okay. So I think I want to close there. I try to make these shorter and shorter, so because other platforms, they've trimmed their allowances, but it's almost 40 minutes now. Whatever. I hope you have found this helpful and beneficial. And if you do want to sign up for the program, please again go to my website www.suchsweetthunder.org, and you can find out all the information there. Hope to see you there. It's going to be a great program. Looking forward to it. So, okay, I'm going to ring the bell and close this out. Thank you.